Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for taking your time out for CV Magazine and ACI Magazine. Dafo is all about vehicle fire protection, and today with the advanced technology, safety seems to be of paramount importance to fleet operators, to OEMs. How do you all see this market evolving from the nascent times earlier?
We notice there is something happening up the market, especially when it's about requirements, need, and of course technical development of the fire suppression systems. Dafo has been a leader in this field since the 70s and was one of the first companies which did applications for vehicle. Puts us in a really interesting situation, and of course we are now really active at the Asian market in general. Now we are in Indonesia. This is a quite new market for us, but we even here have interesting projects in the pipeline. And when it's about requirements, Fredrik, perhaps you have some really interesting things to say when it's about our certifications, which we are currently doing.
So there's a lot of movement when it comes to certification and regulation. So we see from the European side that now we have the requirements of the UNESA Regulation 107, and we see that this is going to be more and more adopted all over the world, I would say. This is also especially of interest for the Indian market, which is currently developing the AIS 135 standard. So a lot of things going on.
Right. How do you choose to have a market segmentation between developed markets and developing markets? Because the developed markets are very enticing. They already have the advanced products, and then there's a market like Indonesia, which is comparatively at a very nascent stage when it comes to safety compliance. So, is it a catch-20 situation to be in both developed as well as developing markets?
Let us keep quite simple. A fire is a fire. It doesn't matter if you have a fire on a machine in Indonesia, in India, or in Europe. So the requirements to put out the fire, the requirements, the technical requirements are more or less the same in all the countries. Of course, you have some difference when it's about climate, when it's about handling of the machine, service, and even quality of the material. The standards are only defining how the system looks like, how we should install the system, what components we should use, and so on.
Right.
But the principle is the same.
Right. Are both these set of markets equally governed by the government policies, regulations, or is it that the developed markets have now mandated fire safety, so you have a market over there, but the developing markets is somewhere where you're trying to create a market pull? Is it that kind of a situation for the company?
I think that, of course, I think developed markets or country, they might have the regulations by statutory, but in Asian markets, they are upcoming. In Asian markets, they try to make it mandatory to as a law or rules to have it. So there's an area that we're looking at, so that these are markets will actually continue to grow. And we find that even in Asia or Southeast Asia, there are countries that, they do not do it by law, but they do voluntary compliance. I think with the new rules, it creates a lot of awareness. Certain countries try to realize that it's expanding markets with electrical vehicles or whatnot. The risk is getting greater, so they do a lot of voluntary kind of compliance.
Right. Coming to your products, how does a Dafo product differ from for a system that is for a powertrain that is IC, for a powertrain that is hybrid, and for a powertrain that is electric? These are three different evolving segments, and seems like nobody is going to be out of the running for some time now. It's going to be all three together.
Interesting question. Absolutely. I mentioned that we started with our fire suppression system in the 70s. At that time, we only talk about diesel engines, and to start with logging machines in the forest. Then both machinery was developing, but also fire suppression systems. Precisely as you mentioned, we stepped into a period with hybrid vehicles, and now the whole world is talking about electric vehicles. Dafo is prepared for all these kind of installations, applications, and of course we look really careful at the requirements, at the need in the market, and we develop our product. Even here, perhaps one word to the developing of new standards for electrical vehicles. Fredrik.
Yes, I mean, there's an ongoing movement of developing new standards for electric vehicles. However, at this stage, they haven't really looked into the fire safety requirement. There are some in place, but more needs to be done in this area. And
Right.
Dafo actually
Do a lot.
and we are right now, currently we are involved in a EU-funded research project called the Lion Fire, which with the intention of creating a solution for these type of applications for electric vehicles.
Right. While everybody is speaking about electric vehicles, there is also contrarian opinion that none of these electric vehicles have reached the end of life cycle. So how that vehicle is going to last. It's very easy to get into the electric segment, but over the life cycle, if you look at the vehicle, and for a market like China, which is considered to be very aggressive and far more advanced in terms of electric technology, we hear there have been a lot of breakdowns in the last 5 years of growth, a lot of fire hazards. So how do you draw from a market or a case study like this?
This is a tricky question because everybody is really frenetic about electrical vehicles. A few months ago, I had been out the biggest producer of electrical batteries for electrical vehicles in China, and I had more or less the same questions that you had.
Right.
And to make it short, I didn't get all.
Concrete answer.
Yes, I really not 100% satisfying
Right.
answers.
Right.
Especially when it's about recycling of batteries, I think there's a big question mark today.
Right. Also, when it comes to buses, the OEMs seem to be looking at long-haul solutions when it comes to passenger movement. So you're getting these huge 430 HP engines, looking at doing about 1,000 kilometers odd intra-city. So do you think fire safety takes even more precedence when it comes to passengers traveling for such a long-haul distance? Doing intercity?
I think even in the rules, under the R107 rules, I think they first emphasize, in terms of deadline, they first emphasize on coaches, double-decker, which I call that like a sleeping passengers kind of things, because you'll find that when you have long-haul distance kind of buses, the higher risk that the driver or even the passenger are unaware of the fire, especially at the back of the engine compartment. Whereas you're talking about city buses and whatnot, I think the deadline are later. I think it's somewhere in 2020 and 2021. I think that is for a very obvious reason. They find that the risk of coaches, long-haul distance kind of buses, the risk is higher than the city buses, of which even city buses you have standing passengers, then it's shorter distance, they can stop, perhaps they don't run 24 hours, they don't run at night. So I think it's about the risk kind of evaluations, so that I think that the focus now is a lot on coaches, a lot of all these double-decker buses and whatnot.
Right. Indonesia seems to have this peculiar liking for coaches transporting two-wheelers. That's something unique we learned over here in this market. So does that double the risk again when it comes to fire safety systems, because you are actually having vehicles with fuel on board?
This is the first time I've seen this, actually,
Right.
so we haven't really considered that, I would say. But as you say, it's an increased risk if you put the vehicles with increased fire load in the passenger or in the luggage compartment.
Right. Okay, let's talk about the markets now. Which are the key markets for Dafo outside the parent country?
Of course, you mentioned India. It happened a lot.
Right.
It's not only a huge market, it's also a market which is surprising when it comes to requirements, when it comes to standards. Of course, all the countries which are connected to the ECE R107 regulation, as for example Malaysia.
Yeah, there are 50, 60 countries that actually are members country of the forums. So that makes it mandatory.
Right.
So that is the area they are looking at. And of course, in Asian markets, as mentioned, even they are not members of the forums, there are a lot of countries do voluntary compliance. Places like Hong Kong, like Singapore, perhaps even in Indonesia and whatnot. So I think it's awareness that create that markets. So countries are aware of the risk, and then they want to be ahead. Instead of just joining the forum, they would like to do it. Even places like Taiwan, they do want it. I mean, the incident in places like Taiwan, back strategy happens. So the government decide to say that let's do it. Let's have the compliance. Even the country don't sign up for the World Forum. Yeah.
Right. What is the penetration of fire systems as of today in the Asian market? If I were to ask you, does it make a business case already, or is it at a growing stage? How do you look at it?
We are deeply involved in the Asian market with many projects, both within the bus market, but also within the heavy-duty machine market, at the harbors, in the mining. So we are really spread out in the whole market already.
Right. In Asia particularly, where does maximum revenue as of now for Dafo come from? Which market would that be in the Asian market?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, quite an internal question, but let's say it is in certain market segments not easy to do a good business because of pricing.
Right.
But we manage it and we do a good business in all the segments.
Right.
We do.
Also a little on the marketing mix. When you talk about marketing mix, again, you have the price, performance, product and the placement.
Yes.
How do you look at your strategy aligning with all these? Is it a healthy mix, or you have certain areas to develop in?
Once again, a really interesting question because here we have Mr. Wee, which is located at our new head office of Dafo Asia in Malaysia. I also will be located over there half-time. So Dafo Asia as a new player.
Of course, in the market there are so many systems. There are approved systems. We know of there are people that are supplying unapproved system, but Dafo always we emphasize on quality. It's a technology, it's a R&D that we're selling. So we wouldn't want to go into a price war, making the system, which is a fire safety system, which is a life-saving system, as cheap as those system or product that might not warranty that it works when you need it. So I think our strategy are slightly different from others.
Right.
We don't only really actually emphasize on pricing, but we emphasize on sustainability of the system, reliability of the system, and of course the service that we have. Yeah.
Right. Before I ask you to sum up, again a question that might not go down well, but is the fire protection system market more organized or unorganized in terms of the players involved today? While I know you're from the organized side, overall is the market unorganized at this stage?
What do you mean by organized?
Unorganized being, fly-by-night operators or small companies who are also offering such systems, but not probably able to match the quality that would be given by a company like Dafo.
In that case, we must say it's quite unorganized.
Right. That's a good answer. Well played. So to sum it up all for Dafo, short to medium and medium to long term, which are the growth areas and challenge areas?
Challenges areas, yeah?
Yeah.
Quality and function, the technical side, is no challenge for us, because we feel really safe and we feel really confident. Pricing is a challenge, and of course, if fire suppression systems are new in the area, of course customers are tempted to try the cheapest way. Let's say take local systems with no approval, no experience, and prefer these systems before our systems, which are approved, which are tested, which have a history. So this is a kind of challenge.
I think a lot of awareness have to be made, to educate people on the system, with a certified system and how it works, because I think we have to change the mindset of the markets. Instead of price orientated, it must be functional or operational orientated on the system. I think that will be our great challenge in the coming year. If not, really, we are going into a price war and people talk about how much instead of how it works, whether it works or not.
Nobody can win this war when you talk about safety systems and only look at the pricing.
I think also another challenging area is fire protection applications for new energy carriers like the electric power lines and the gas-powered buses, hydrogen buses, and so on. So,
Big opportunity areas for the company.
big opportunity areas. Yes.
Right. Thank you so much for sparing the time. Thank you. Lovely interaction.
Thank you.
Right.